Let's see. Yeah.
I am, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and get started with the presentation. So Rebecca, you want to take it to the next slide here? All right. So many of you have already seen that we are recording the annual membership meeting today. Hello, welcome. And if you have any issues, just let me know. For the people that are here, we're using my phone as the audio. So we'll pass the phone down to you so everyone can hear effectively. All right, next slide, Rebecca. There we go. And the next slide. Okay. In regard to our annual membership meeting, it's been a while since we've been able to gather together, and we're so grateful to our host, Kinected co-working space here in San Antonio. I don't know that you have seen this beautiful office, but it really is a wonderful site, and there's lots of seating over there for after the meeting. Sorry you're not here. But it's a great place for you all as coaches too, if you're wanting to connect with individuals or meet your clients here. So that's a little plug for Kinected Co-working. We really do appreciate the time that they've given us for this space. But for today, we want to be able to introduce our new board members and of course talk about our strategic planning efforts and really pose to you all some opportunities on how we can continue to attract more members to the chapter, as well as through new initiatives. So we will be talking about that later today, and then some next steps, and we hope to end right at 7:30. Next slide, Rebecca. Okay, so this is where we continually just thank our volunteers. Melissa Mahan and Chichi Anianwu and Susanna have been just wonderful to continually serve the chapter, and we wouldn't be where we're at without them. But a special call out to Carissa Gay, who just has continued to be a great, what would I call her? A tower, a very strong tower for this organization, because she's given us a tremendous amount of insight over the years that she's been associated with ICF. So Carissa, thank you for everything that you continue to do. Yes. Don't ever let her go. That's all I have to say. Don't ever let her go. And so that then leads us to the next slide, and that is our new board members. And so I'd like for you to meet our 2023-2024 board members. I am staying on as president, and I'm going to pass the phone around to Dan so he could say hello.
Good evening, Dan Pogue. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for electing me as your president-elect for the next year. I have a lot to learn from both Carissa and Aurora, so you guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. I live on the east side of San Antonio, over by Randolph Air Force Base, and I've been coaching for years when I was in the military, also in the corporate realm, and started my own company a couple of years ago. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
All right, and we'll turn it over to Carrie.
Hey, everybody. I realized thinking about the meeting today that ICF San Antonio is my first connection with local San Antonians, because in 9 days I will have lived in San Antonio 2 years. Yeah, so I'm just excited to be orangutanged into this great work and this great group.
That's awesome. And so Bridget, we turned it over to you, and you are online.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be a part of this board. I've been on other boards, so I do come with some experience. I'm very passionate about membership because I think membership is very vital to all members in terms of iron sharpening iron, in terms of being equipped, in terms of being empowered, in terms of just knowing how to execute the various things that we as coaches have to execute to set the standard. I've been through coaching. I have 2 coaching certifications, one in personal and professional development, and the other one in executive coaching. My background is higher education and human resources. And so having dealt with my students, having dealt with employees, and having gone through a coaching program, I just think that professional associations are vital and a strong extension of whatever professional program that is out here. So I'm very passionate about this and looking forward to meeting with, I think my focus really though is, maybe it's because I'm, I just came out of coaching school 2 years ago, the new coaches, them getting on the right path and knowing where to go and what to do and what's out here. And there's so much that's not really addressed. The ICF and any other professional coaching association that there is not really addressed in those classes. So I'm looking to be that representative and to get the word out there that this is definitely the place to be. So thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bridget. We appreciate you so much. And then you'll see Cora Lawning, who's on here as well. That's another view. I don't even know if y'all could see that. But Cora Lawning is actually coaching. So she'll be joining us hopefully later. But Cora has a tremendous amount of experience in learning, development, coaching. She worked with one of our incredible coaches that started ICF San Antonio, which is Barbara Green, if y'all know Barbara. And so Cora worked with Barbara for many years, and we're grateful that she's going to come and join us as our treasurer. Okay, next slide, Rebecca. There we go. So this is where I'm going to turn it over to our strategic planning committee. And I'm really grateful that Scott and Carrie and Jim and Rebecca have all come together. It's really been kind of like a dream team. You guys bring incredible, not only strategy, but vision to the conversation. And you've also been able to really ask those challenging questions that would benefit our membership and advanced coaching. So I'm going to turn it over to Scott just to say a few things.
Hi, everyone. Just want to say, as part of being this team, it's an honor. Also, is from a diversity and inclusion perspective, this group has amazing diversity of thought and inclusion of ideas. And that really is what gives us our power to make a difference. And I think that's what we're all about, making a difference collectively with us and with those that we serve.
And we're going to bypass Carrie because you're going to hear from her in a little bit, but we'll turn it over to Jim.
Okay. Whoop. Well, hello, everyone. I'm super happy to see everyone. It is fun to be back with this group again. I'm new to the ICF and to coaching, but I've had it in my background as a lawyer and with BNSF Railroad. I will just say, echo what Scott was saying. All of what we're trying to do. I'm looking down at our strategic vision around the Coach More, Coach Connect, and the Coach Better. All of those dimensions are wonderful, and it is great to collaborate with everyone. And I sense that this is a great growth season for this chapter. So I'm super happy to be part of it, and it's great.
Awesome. I don't want to be remiss to mention that we have a former board member here, Paula, who has also served the ICF chapter. And Bridget, if there's an opportunity for you to connect with her, it would be great to hear her perspective, because as an engineer, she's come up with some great designs. So thank you, Paula. You see her down there? Hey, Paula. All right. Well, Rebecca, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone that participated in strategic planning as well, because I know it takes a lot of time, and they've dedicated their time, they've donated their passion, and they've brought that vision together to come up with a really great transformation strategy. That's my primary background, not necessarily in coaching. And I can say I've never seen it come together so seamlessly as it has with this group. So it has been a very fun experience. And yes, kudos to the team for all their passion and their knowledge that they brought to the table. And Aurora, I'm going to actually tap you to cover the first section. So we're going to be kind of talking about the strategic planning process, the journey. But I'd love for us to talk about how we started this journey initially and the vision that the board had as we began the process really early in 2022.
Yeah, and actually even before then, this really goes all the way back to when James and Carissa were very active in developing the strategy for ICF San Antonio. But you can see the vision is common to ICF Global, and that is we really want to be that leading voice in the coaching industry. There's so many standards that the society, our community, our employers, our managers, leaders still don't understand about some fundamentals to coaching. They still associate coaching with mentoring and therapy and consulting. And so we've got our work cut out to continually be that voice in the coaching industry. But the mission, it remains the same. The reason we're all coaching here today is because we care about people and how they can tap into their potential. And so the goals that we established were, how do we create those partnerships? Earlier, before you all joined us, we were in a conversation on how we were developing these partnerships. For example, with ACMP, where we now have a boot camp for our coaches to attend so they can get their CCMP certification. Well, that came through a strategic partnership with ACMP. And we're also identifying other strategic partnerships with organizations that can bring coaching credentials and learning and development for our coaches that really adds value to the way that you can grow your business or develop as a coach. And that's the second goal. We want you to have a great experience, but part of the experience is being engaged. We want you all to be engaged in the process of how we're continually developing products, programs, services, partnerships. It's your voice. This is your chapter, and we need to hear from you on what's most important. And then the last is stewarding a financially sound chapter. This really came out of the area of 2020, the pandemic. We had to come up with ways to, I'm not going to say that, but I will say just ways to be lean and mean so that we would continue to generate the revenue that we needed to support the chapter. And I think that we've done a very good job in terms of developing that, because we've brought in VAs to support the chapter. So it takes a lot of the administrative burden off of the board members. And we continue to be in the black, which is great. Okay. And of course, you see our values there. We continually just, I'm not going to go through all of those, but those are our values they're very important as coaches. Okay. Rebecca?
Thank you. So that's really the foundation for where we started as we began this journey, is to make sure that anything that we're discussing and as we're moving forward with the ultimate vision, they were anchored to the mission of ICF San Antonio, that we're incorporating the values, and that we're achieving these goals. So that was key in all the conversations as we kind of went through this journey. And this timeline you're looking at is really just that journey on paper. We started with the strategic planning kickoff session in November, where we brought the committee together. We identified and kind of reiterated that we wanted to focus on the coach better, coach more, coach connect concept, and that really speaks to the goals. And then in December, we had a strategic planning session where we used this in-person and virtual collaboration opportunity to talk about what are our pain points, what are the opportunities that the chapter has, what are those behaviors that are going to support the ideal state, really kind of map out and collaborate on what that journey could look like. And then separately, the strategic planning team, we went into a prioritization matrix exercise where we took all of those fantastic ideas and we started looking at, okay, what's considered a moonshot? What is a luxury, something that is maybe high in difficulty and maybe low in impact, but something that would be a best bet. It's high impact, low effort. So we categorized all of these amazing ideas. And then as we continued to go into January and February, where we designed and refined the ideas that came out of the collaboration session, what we saw is that there was some synergies and some overlaps that really led to a really coherent vision that Carrie's going to get into. And this journey definitely, although it looks like there's quite a bit on this timeline, I'm really impressed with this team because we really did this only in a handful of sessions. It was a lot of asynchronous and virtual collaboration. So this is definitely a power team that came together to make a lot happen in a very short period of time. And the mindset, as I mentioned, as we're going through this process, we're making sure that we're anchoring back to what is it that we're trying to achieve? What are the core values? What are the goals of the strategic planning committee? What are we trying to anchor to? And we knew that we wanted to keep the concept of growing the business, keeping the community connected, keeping the coaches centered to all that we're starting to we're building decision, all that we're starting to put together, because at the center is the coaches and the coaching community. And we wanted to lean into that potential and that expertise, but then also elaborate on and grow each coach, their potential and their expertise. So at the center of the mindset, that's really what led us into this formulation of the need for change. And this gets us to the value statement. So what's the value in all of this activity? We found that through the ideation, we could identify that there's a need to emphasize the member experience, build on connection, build these strategic partnerships. Again, this all ties into the goals that that Aurora was talking about. And all of that led us to this vision of masterminds. And so I'm going to hand it over to Carrie so that she can kind of dive into, and we've got a few slides, Carrie. So as I'm going through this, if you need me to skip ahead, I think we've got a couple slides. So just let me know when I need to advance.
I'm coming.
So before we dive into this work, I want us to put aside our, thank you, our executive or program committee hats and think about you as a coach. So anybody in the room or anybody virtually, what is a business or professional goal you have this year? I'd love to hear a few of them.
Build my business so that I can be prepared to leave my company. Oh, did I say that recording? Don't watch that.
Okay, build a business to be able to have freedom. Not that last part that she said, and the camera wasn't on you, so we don't know who said it. All right, so build the business. Good. Give me some other goals that you have. Professional goals. PCC. Okay, become certified. Awesome. What else?
Launch a training program to support coaches who want to specialize in family business.
Nice. Launch a training program to support coaches who want to support family business. Great. Virtually?
Speak for organizations equipping leaders in coaching skills.
Good. Speak for organizations equipping leaders in coaching skills. Awesome. Virginia, what's one of your goals this year?
I want to bring forward more clearly the importance of health and well-being as part of a coaching model.
Good. Health and well-being as part of the coaching model. Awesome. Okay. So let's think about our professional goals and us as coaches, as I kind of think us through what got to this proposal that we have of these masterminds. So if you want to go to the next slide, Rebecca, that'd be great. So just looping you into the journey that we've done, not going into all the details by any means. This is a screenshot of the collaborative work that we did on moonshots and priority payoff matrix. Raise your hand if you were in that session, anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the room, a couple on, perfect. Okay, so we know this work, right? Big brain dump, super brilliant. And then we looked at all of that data as a strategic planning committee and said, okay, so what does all this mean? So then we kind of put it through a few different lenses. So next slide. So if we want to think about coach more, these are all the ways from our collective brainstorming, that big session, the first slide. All of those ideas got strapped into coach better, Do the next slide, Rebecca. Coach more, and the third one. Coach Connect. Okay, so we took all of those ideas and we mapped it onto the 3 pillars that we thought of. And then kind of pulled back and said, well, what member comes to us and says, you know, please coach more, coach better, coach connect. Like it didn't feel like language that maybe they would use to represent their business. So what other ways can we look at this? So we're not introducing any more data. It's 100% everyone's brilliance in that collaborative discussion that we had. But let's flip it around and kind of tease it through a couple of angles and see what will resonate for our members. So next slide. The next set of lenses that we looked at it through was growing your business and next slide, being a better coach, which is exactly the goals that we just talked about, right, broadly. And so we took all of that data and we said, if we map it onto these 2 things, how does that look? And I think in one of our sessions, it was Jim or Scott that said, like, there's a lot of stuff that overlaps, like, you know, they kind of fit in both categories, which brought us to this Venn diagram. So if we take all the stuff that overlaps, wow, that's a lot in the green circle, right? And on the left was business specific, you know, get new business, marketing, sales skills. That's purely business. A bunch of stuff that overlaps in the middle. And then the purely coaching stuff on the right side was ICF credentials. Everything else overlapped. Well, why are we trying to tease it apart when like there's just so much good and shared concept around the professional goals that we have? So that brought us to the next thing, which is this idea of what happens if we differentiated what we offer and gave people a chance to sign up for mastermind groups that focused on whatever they wanted out of all that stuff in the green circle. So who's ever been a part of a mastermind? Anybody? Aurora, myself, Carissa, Paula, Dawn. Yeah, okay, Bridget. Susanna, did you say yes? I didn't catch your hand really quickly there. Virginia? Yeah? No, okay. So a mastermind is a group of people that come together to continue their professional development. I got asked to join one recently that was $1,700 a month. And these are not expert speakers coming in or anything. It's just people coming together to share their brilliance and buoy each other up and kind of slow down to make sure that we're held accountable to make our goals, whatever they are. So in this model that we're pitching, we're really saying, hey, you probably want to build your business and you probably want to be a better coach so that you have influence for the people you serve, right? So you can have your influence. So what does that mean? And let's kind of talk through this. So we're anticipating next year, what our proposal is for this group is really having groups of people join whatever mastermind they're interested in. And there's an organic nature to this, right? So we're not pigeonholing people. We're not telling them where they have to be. We're saying, hey, what's your professional goal? Who has some goals around the same stuff? How about you go and meet with people that are working on similar stuff? That group of people is going to figure out how often they want to meet. They're going to figure out where they meet. Is it online? Is it virtual? So just even in this meeting, several of us wanted to really get refined on our coaching skills. So Scott was saying that he wants to get credentialed. Well, maybe the people that want to get credentialed make a mastermind. And they hold each other accountable to meet the criteria and they share resources, and maybe they're stuck. They need help because they're not really sure about the ICF exam. And of course, none of them have done it, right? Because they're all wanting to be certified. So then Scott's group would reach out to ICF San Antonio and say, hey, we need help with a program or finding an expert that can give us some insights into the exam. And that's where the administrative team would come together and help out that mastermind. I gave the other example earlier today where one of my goals is getting better at storytelling so that I can market my business better. Right. So I don't have a storytelling guru, but I might say to my mastermind group, that's probably going to be people interested in marketing. Wow, who do you know that can do stories well? And I'm guessing one of them probably knows somebody. And our mastermind, like, let's say I'm with Carissa next to me here. Carissa knows somebody. Do you know somebody good at storytelling?
Yeah, several people.
Okay, so we're going to reach out. Carissa's going to reach out to her several people, and she's going to invite them in, and they're going to speak for free because they're going to be in front of such an engaged audience. How lucky are they to be in front of these coaches that might contract with them after to actually help me figure out what story I'm telling, right? At the end of the day, who's working harder in this model? This is the drum roll, please. It's the members that are working harder, not the executives trying to figure out what we can do to make everybody happy. And so this is not meant to be for people that just want to come and passively be a part of the chapter. This is for people that are engaged, that want to be held accountable, that want to move forward, that want to help people find the answers to what they're looking at. So there's an expectation that you share your expertise, that you get vulnerable and ask for expertise, and that you leverage your resources to help people get their answers. So I'm going to pause there after that pitch, field some questions, talk through it. What do you think, first off? Like, what's buzzing in your head? Many of you have not even heard of this mastermind pitch in our change in how we do stuff. So what's buzzing through your head? Yeah. Okay, good. I need my glasses on. Who's this down here?
Yeah.
Sunalyn, thank you. They're in my bag. Sunalin's giving me the thumbs up. Jim?
One thing that catches my ear is I hear the adult learning model in this, where adults don't want to be involved in stuff if they can't quickly figure out that this is really going to help.
Yep.
And so there's like a deeper level incentivization here. Like, I'm going to do this because I know there's something specific
Yes.
that I need, and I'll participate in that. And the peer-to-peer piece of it becomes really powerful.
Yep. Good.
The role I would see the board playing is someone would need to track and measure the outcome. And I believe this is genius. And then once you have identified the individuals that have achieved their goals through these masterminds, being able to celebrate them and being able to use that information to get others, sometimes people want to see other people do it first before they do it. So I think it's a great incentive.
Yeah, Sunalyn's giving the thumbs up. Sunalyn's all about the thumbs up. Yeah, awesome. This was
Paula, thank you. That was really important. I thought your last statement, because we have to have some kind of metric if we're all on board with this. And by having some way to then track it where we can give testimonials and really have people equate the masterminds to more happiness in their business and more success, that's the key. So thank you for that one, Paul.
I love it. Virginia, what are you thinking?
What
Sorry,
I'm
motion
thinking
picture.
is that kind of related to the adult, learning model. And of course, what Bridget just said is that I kind of think there's like a step before the step, meaning that it would be great to open up some kind of discussion that kind of looks like a peer coaching opportunity where you can explore where is it that you feel like you need to focus on or grow, or how do you utilize all this mastermind?
Yeah.
It's kind of the opposite of throwing yourself in a category. It really is, and just jumping in. It has more to do with my professional development and where I want to go.
Nice. Because sometimes you don't know what you don't know in terms of where to develop, right?
Exactly.
So I wonder, like,
And I do think that one of the underexplored areas in coaching is peer coaching. And this would be an opportunity to engage that way.
Yep. Great. And like, I think some of us may have really specific goals already in mind, and there may be new burgeoning. I mentioned I've got a colleague who may want to join, and she doesn't have any ICF certification, doesn't really plan on getting an ICF certification, but is a coach. And maybe there's just something out of the box that she brings or wants to work through. And how do we help her slow down to figure out what that is, right? The step before the step. Yeah. So in this, there would be some, an organic leader would come out of that mastermind group. So we're not assigning, like Dan's across from me here. I'm not saying like, hey, Dan, you need to do the mastermind group on X. Like, we should all be able to join a group that is meaningful for us. And then when that group comes together, who's going to put in the application for the CEUs? Who's going to set up the invites? Who's going to reserve Connect if we end up coming here again? Like, that group is going to organically figure out who takes on which role to make it a really successful group. And I could join 10 groups if I wanted. Like, I'm not just limited to one mastermind group, but the expectation is like, if you commit, you're all in. And maybe the commitment is like 6 months, maybe it's not the whole year, but enough to really like hunker in and develop and own it and get comfortable with the group and have that psychological safety to be stretched. Dan,
What's the rhythm you see a mastermind taking on? Once a month, once a week? Or is
whatever
it-
they want.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe it's 30 minutes. Like I'm thinking of Aurora's piece about, I really want to be able to leave my full-time job. We have what percentage, like half of our membership works full-time and does the coaching. So they may have lunch together every Monday, but they have to fit it in during their lunch hour because they kind of got a paid job they have to keep doing, right? Where I'm independent consultant, I might want to meet in person with somebody and have a long breakfast. And I want to do that once a month instead of 30 minutes every week. Like every group, it has complete autonomy to decide what structure works for them and they drive it. And maybe I want to meet once a month and then I realize that's too often and I switch to once every 2 months or whatever. Like it can shift as the needs grow. Super abstract, which is maybe uncomfortable for some people. I can be pulled in a little bit on me being too comfortable with the Never Never Land.
Would the masterminds organically set kind of their own agenda and topics?
Okay, I forgot to say this part. It was super important. Thank you, Dan. Think of this like group or team coaching, where the facilitator is still a member of it, but they're really helping the group figure out each other's answers on things. I would say technically probably more group coaching than team coaching. So part of the thinking behind this is if we're a coaching chapter, I'm going to get on a soapbox for like 15 seconds here. If we're a coaching chapter and obviously we drank the Kool-Aid, then how we do our business should model the coaching model. So that whole stand and deliver, bring in experts, pay your $10 for whatever, that it's so opposite coaching. Now, there are times when we need expertise, but right now, what do we offer our members? We have like community, right? They get access to everybody. And then they have these expert programs that are really like top down. It's like the opposite of coaching, even though we're so thoughtful doing it and the parts are on point and we do learn stuff. I'm not negating all the good work that happens there. It just strikes me as an irony that I see so many coaching chapters, and I've been in some of them before, where they just don't actually live the coaching walk. Okay, I'm done on that soapbox.
Well, I agree with you on that one. I mean, that's kind of what I was trying to explain earlier.
Yeah, good. No, and you're a step before the step made total sense too, Virginia. Yeah. So Lynn, I love your clapping. You're so easy to read without my glasses on, this fuzzy hand clapping. Thank you.
Well, I'll add a comment.
Please.
My response to the mastermind is really a visceral one. The reason for that is because that's how I first connected with ICF San Antonio is through masterminds prior to pandemic. And so that coming together on a roughly monthly basis around a particular topic was a great way to meet people, but also to practice a particular coaching focus or competency. I like a little more structure.
Can you hear her? Can you hear Paula?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, kind of. Here, can you pass this down, Scott? I got the wishy on something. Thumbs up.
As the engineer.
Yeah, I like a little bit more structure. I'm really kind of drawn to that step before, how do you figure out what or which mastermind you might want to start in, getting a real feel for those things you might want to be pursuing. So some structure around that piece, kind of sorting hat like. And then working into those masterminds, and again with maybe a teeny bit more structure, or at least some guidelines. I mean, certainly within the mastermind, those who are in it will be able to figure out how they want to work together, and they can be self-governing in that way, but at least provide some guidelines, and they can use them or not.
In my morning shower, thinking about our meeting today, I had the wonder, like, how do we get everybody in the room to sort of say what your interests are? So you take those 6 people. I hope everyone's not too motion sick as we pass the baton around here. Like even taking the 5 or 6 people that volunteered what their goals were, like imagine if there was a way to collect what people's goals are or get a sense of what that is or help people slow down. Because what I think my goal might be once I slow down is maybe not really my goal, which we know happens in coaching all the time. And from that organically say, now form groups like huddle right now and figure out what that looks like for your group. Like there's got to be a launching. I think the other alternative, that was my shower brainstorm, my, months ago brainstorm, was that organically I can think, I know that I want to work on branding, marketing. And I know from this room maybe and some people on that you might be interested in the same thing. So I could go, hey, Bridget, are you interested in branding? Come and join this mastermind group together. And Bridget will ask her friends about branding and I'm going to ask my friends. And eventually we have sort of in the club. But the problem with that is I may not think maybe Paula wants to do branding too, but I didn't think of asking Paula, or I didn't have a space for Paula to contribute what her interest was. And then it could potentially become exclusionary. So I'm in my head thinking what's sort of the launch? And then what happens if I can't meet the launch and I join 2 months later? How do I sort of integrate in? I'm thinking logistically about those things. So you're right, Paula, about structure.
Carrie, if you could put that one on mute, and I'm going to unmute this
Okay,
one.
well, I'm going to put you on mute, but you're still with me.
Yeah, I'm still with you. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to take this one off. What I was going to add is I agree we do need a little bit more structure. We're casting vision right now, but basically when Carrie talked about the brand, it's almost like we're going to go build, like coaches are going to come together and they're going to build their brand. They're going to identify best practice for their, website and, maybe it's outreach campaigns that they're working together on. So they're building it together and learning from each other. So I definitely see that when we do provide more structure to maybe topics, like we would have a list of topics that coaches can choose from. And from those topics, we bring in these masterminds, and basically the deliverable is A, B, or C, or X, Y, and Z. We do need to put a little bit of thought into that, but that's kind of what was coming up for me. Yeah.
And I think we were cautious of not putting the cart before the horse, right? Get first, sort of the blessing on the vision, and then from there kind of work through whatever the logistics are.
Yes.
I don't know where to go from here. Rebecca, more questions, more conversation? Are we developing structure? Oh, right. Yes. Oh my goodness. Right. Okay. So we actually wanted to live this with you at what a mastermind group could look like. So let's, in the spirit of what you were just saying, let's get one topic that we can all sort of chime in on. And then let's live actively listening to each other and asking open-ended questions. I'm going to be the facilitator of the mastermind, and we're going to make sense of some challenges that we're facing in our coaching practice. And what timeline do we want to put on this? 20, did we say 20 minutes, Rebecca, when we plan this out?
Yep, 20
So
minutes.
20 minutes. Perfect. So, Sue Lynn, can you put a timer on your phone or something for 20 minutes for us? Give us like an 18-minute warning and then we'll see if we can wrap up. Okay. So what are some things that are keeping everybody up at night? And then we'll, from a list, kind of decide what we're going to dive into today. Yeah, besides the Ukraine war. That's right, Kathy. It's real. So
I have one. It's more related to business, and it's employers are slowing down with contracts, hires. They're waiting for the macroeconomics to play out. So what do we do as coaches to source our business and maybe refer our business, or just interact with the businesses? Like, what's the pitch that we need to make to the businesses?
So what is anybody hearing Aurora say in the challenge that she's identifying?
Two things:
Okay.
differentiation, value proposition.
Okay. Differentiation about what?
What you bring that maybe another coaching organization or a coach bring to the table.
So differentiate your expertise from other competition. Okay. And value stream, good.
the perceived need, the organizations don't see the need for coaching in the same way.
What problem are they having that you're trying to solve?
Yeah,
Are you asking me or to?
No, I'm just
Yeah.
elaborating.
yeah, actively listening. Yeah, and in that, like, their perceived need, I'm struggling with helping people develop the readiness for the work. Other ideas about topics we could discuss?
You mentioned earlier, really in the opening, about a lot of organizations still don't understand what coaching is.
Okay.
So there's that awareness, that education.
Which that relates to the perceived need too.
Right.
People don't buy coaching, they buy the result.
And sometimes I think they buy the person.
I agree with that. The ROI, what is it the
Yeah.
coach brings to the ROI?
Okay. So let's just pause there for the sake of us doing a mini mastermind class. And I'm sensitive to my online people. We really want to honor your voice. So unmute whenever you want. So we have the differentiation, like what makes you special in the work you do? What's the value added for businesses to engage with you? What's their perceived need of needing to engage with a coach? What the heck is coaching? And then what's the ROI of coaching? So is there maybe, can some of those be clustered into a larger theme, or one of those things that jumps out more for us to dive into? I'll read them again quickly. Differentiation, value proposition, perceived need, what is coaching, and the ROI. What would be valuable for us to spend a few minutes talking about?
Is there any part of that line on your attention?
Value proposition.
Okay, value proposition. Is that all right with the team online?
Yes.
Okay, so when we think value proposition, well, let's slow down first. If we discuss value proposition, which it sounds like we're going to, let me get into a real coaching thing. What would we like to walk away with? Okay,
How
yeah.
are we speaking to where organizations are at right now?
Okay, so how are we speaking to where organizations are at? And Aurora, you said something when you were walking by.
It's
Just that-
basically
Okay,
the narrative, talking points.
okay. Speaking to where organizations are. So we'd like to walk away with some talking points that speak to where organizations are at so that we can engage them in business.
I think
Well,
there's
I also think where they would like, I think also where they would like to go.
Okay, where they would like to
I
go.
think in a post-pandemic world, that is like very important.
Okay. Aurora?
I was just gonna add how we as coaches are also meeting their need. So the way we pitch our services is key as well, similar to what Dan was mentioning in terms of our differentiation and how we differ from a consultant or et cetera.
Okay, good. That's some ambitious work in the next sort of finish minutes. So some talking points, speaking to where the organizations are at, figuring out where do they want to go and how we can meet their needs. So what do you know about any of those? Yeah, please.
We've got 2 minutes.
Are you kidding? That's been 18 minutes already?
Oh, 18? I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm sorry. We have 12 minutes left.
I'm like,
Oh, I feel
wow.
so much better. Okay, give us the, yeah, Sulin, woo, give us the, I'm like, it is amazing. I am so present. Time really flew by.
7:15.
Oh, wow, I underestimated our time limit. Okay, so Sulin, we have 20 more minutes, which is awesome because this is really robust. So if you can give us like 15 minutes and we'll see where we're at, if you don't mind, Sulin. I nearly had a heart attack though, I gotta say. Okay, so speaking to where the organizations are at, maybe talking points, where do they want to go and how can we meet their needs? What are some insights this group has around any of those elements? Please, Kathy.
I'm totally guessing here. But if people are
Can you
holding
pass
back
this down? I think that it might help to have the volume.
If people are, thank you, are holding back on hiring because they're waiting for the economy to do the economy's thing,
what new struggles are the leaders facing because they're not hiring people? That could be an entry point, right? Because they don't have the resources they would normally have to get their work done. So that could be actually an interesting coaching point for the leaders who are holding back on the hiring. Just an idea.
Yeah, you know, on that, what are the leaders' problems?
We're not,
Turn the camera.
we could really turn the camera off in between all of the passing.
That's good.
Okay, I'm gonna turn the camera off here so that we don't make you too nauseous. Everyone's being so patient. Whoops, I just flipped you around, but camera off. There we go. Okay, so I read a book a while ago called Marketing Made Simple by Don Miller. Yeah. Don, like classic, yes. Yeah, he also does a story brand. But one of the things that was the biggest takeaway in that, talking about the leader's problem, is this very simple model of problem, solution, results. And I noticed that I talk about problem and solutions and I skip results, or I talk about solutions and results and I skip the problem. So really having all three of those elements in there, like what is their problem and the solution that they're going to get to, not the solution I give them, not my magic, but the magic. And then the results, which I invariably skip. And I've tried to keep that model, like even in social media posts and stuff, or newsletters that I'm putting out or whatever, just to, because I just find in myself anyway, I skip one of those elements. So how do we identify the leader's problem? We ask, right?
I think there's market research for asking, not just of one industry, but even maybe their competitors.
So market research and not asking of just one competitor, but there's market research that we can also use. Okay. I mean, you're just like simple coach stuff, eh, Paula? Like ask.
But the research is important, you know, when you are thinking about problems at the macro level, getting a real feel for what is going on in that industry, a particular industry, and maybe even adjacent industries. So doing some of that kind of research. So, I mean, we're talking about reading, we're talking about Wall Street Journal, we're talking about, you know, New York Times. I do a lot of that. And, you know, just getting a feel for what's going on in those industries and begin to look for themes. And so when you connect with an organization that you may be interested in working with, or maybe even one that you already have a relationship with that has kind of dialed back on the work that they're doing with you, then you have some things that you can share with them and also ask, so what are these things are you seeing in your business?
Yeah, I was going to highlight a point that you made that I have actually seen very effectively leveraging social media, like on LinkedIn, posting a question and letting 200 people comment, and you glean from that probably 5 to 10 problem areas.
You get a post with 200 comments?
Yeah. But then, everybody wants to comment. But then you put a poll out there for maybe the top 3 or 4 to start bubbling that up to the surface and find that cream on the top. And before long, you've done your market research, largely speaking, without doing a lot of digging into Wall Street Journal, Harvard Business Review, et cetera. So there's ways to leverage some of those tools to ease that burden.
Well, one thing that I have been doing is using Chat GPT.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about that.
Yeah, I've been using a lot of AI, and it's incredible the amount of information that you can gather, because it's pulling from all the different open source files. So that is very beneficial. But then the question becomes getting back to the narrative and the relationships of these of the leaders, so that you can change their mindset, where hiring, for example, is the right thing to do now. Because if they wait, they're going to miss the market when everyone is, when we start seeing an upswing, and there's going to need to be a demand. So it goes back to, you know, how do you create that narrative?
When I'm listening to this discussion, I'm thinking about the value of a miracle question, the miracle question.
Mm.
Meaning that, you know, knowing your industry, knowing where you are with your workforce and the demands of your consumers. You know, if you woke up tomorrow morning and things look peachy keen, or however you want to say that, what would that look like? And, you know, that begins to pull the narrative out of the person because they have thoughts. They go to bed with these thoughts. And so being able to vet them in a safe environment, it's not about, how would you say, validating that or, you know, affirming it. It really is about listening to your story.
Wow. Wow. What a great coaching question.
Yeah.
The miracle question. If everything, you know, went to bed at night and everything was resolved. And you know what I would say is the narrative then for me becomes talking to the leader that is on the fence because they don't have the courage to make the decision. So the narrative would be, now I'm divided. Is the narrative about the vision forward? No, the narrative is the miracle question. Everything's resolved. Okay, so the narrative is the leader was courageous to make the decisions to start building their pipeline of hires, anticipating the business needs that they're going to they're going to be meeting. So they won because they were prepared and they planned and they had the courage to act. There it is.
Well, and what I find interesting about that is you slow down to say, I want to make it about what the leader needs to do, the growth, and not the fix.
Yes, yes.
So when you were tied between the two things, you brought yourself back to the growth, which is what we can facilitate. We're not going to be the fixers.
Right.
That's what the leader is going to do.
And that's where Donald Miller actually says, help them find their hero, let them be the hero, as he's talking about this whole narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Help them be the hero.
Yeah. And I wonder too,
The
like
coach is not the hero.
when Paula was talking earlier, something just made me think about stories and like, what's the problem and the story that the leader has? Because that's probably not like really when we slow down and look at data and trends and all that kind of stuff. The leader has a story in their head, but if we really tease that apart, it is, I need to grow my confidence, or I need to have the courage to make hard decisions, or whatever that is.
Definitely.
So maybe it starts with getting the leader talking about their story and then slowing them down to the miracle question.
Space. I mean, so many leaders right now are just so pulled in directions because they haven't hired.
Yeah.
So they're doing their role plus someone else's role. So it seems like a critical need is just helping them create some of that space to even answer these questions.
Well, to think and filter out. Yeah.
Think. Right. And it's the overwhelm, right? It's that day-to-day spin that gets in the way. Paula, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, so true. I spend a lot of time just holding space.
Yeah.
And being that thought part.
Paula says she's just spending a lot of time just holding space and being that thought partner.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go full circle to that, the ability to speak where organizations are at, get some talking points, where do they want to go, and how can we help them meet their needs? What are we walking away with?
I think I like what Dan mentioned, and that is we help the leader be the hero in the story. So coaching them through that conversation, holding the space so that they're the hero.
Helping them shift from crisis mode that they feel like they're in to what am I going to create and move forward. And
So sometimes it's helping them just see that the problem is achievable. Sometimes
Yes.
they're so overwhelmed that they can't see the forest for the trees, helping them see that the problem can be overcome.
And an epiphany I'm having just as I'm slowing down to reflect through this is sometimes I think I suffer from contagion, that their overwhelm and their urgency and their like need to rush to the fix and get something in place now. Like I'm so empathetic that I get caught up in that speed and then we miss the holding the space long enough.
And sometimes it's just also that first step. What is that incremental first step? Once I understand what that vision is, and can we get in the process to what can I do next?
Especially if someone's in a victim or a two, they like happening two.
Yes.
Mhm.
Shifting from a victim mindset to a buy, it's done to me, but by me.
To me to buy. Life's happening to me.
Yeah, I'm stuck. Yeah, it's never going to get better. Yeah, I'm empowered. Good.
What's standing out to me, I mean, all of our conclusions isn't really anything different than how we normally function as coaches, that we're almost seeing this as a crisis of this is where organizations are at, but we're just called to continue holding space and inviting people to be the hero like we always do.
Well, it's something, but it's bring, I think, some of it to the surface, because Carrie, you mentioned helping them find that solution in that one session. You know, I just recently finished my EQ and I realized that I'm a good problem solver, but to the point where I don't give the client the space to solve their own problem. I immediately think about getting to their solution in one session. I have to back up and give them the space, but it may take a couple of sessions to figure that out, because they have to come to the aha moment. I can't go beating them with it. Have to peel
Thank
the
you for
onion.
sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. That took courage to do. But you know, this is the definition
process.
of consulting versus coaching.
President-elect.
Right here.
Yeah. Yes, it's still always growing. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Virginia, that there's coaching and then there's consulting and just knowing the difference.
Mhm.
Because there's a place for both. Not that we have to do both, but there's a place for both. And
Well, what's important is to know when we slip into being a consultant versus a coach.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So a process check on this conversation.
Yep.
I love the idea that this is designed for us to model coaching.
Yep.
Is there a dimension of the mastermind where we also do consulting?
Yeah, so Jim was asking if there's a dimension of the mastermind where we can do consulting, right? And I think that's entirely up to that mastermind group. And maybe let's pretend that all of us is a one mastermind group, but only half of us are interested in the consulting. Then maybe that half starts a second mastermind group, but those half interested in consulting attend both. Like you could attend 10 if you wanted to. You could attend. My deep hope in this work is that no one is just paying only for the dues. And I guess they would attend like the Austin or Houston programs. Like that's not value added to the whole membership. I think we really want people that are engaged, that are growing, that are ready to be what Dan was, vulnerable and push us to think more. And so I could kind of see like pay X number of dollars and that's everything, mastermind and the dues. We don't break it down into two things. We just have the expectation that if you come, you're a part of this. It's not a two-tiered thing. And if it's a money thing, then of course we'll have ways around that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's, just for the sake of wrapping up the experience of the mastermind. I think we've summarized some takeaways, good vulnerability. What could the value be of this kind of structure for our members?
I think one is, you mentioned earlier, it's like group coaching. Many people don't or haven't experienced that both on as a client or a coach. This gives them some experience on both sides of that equation.
Okay, good. So it gives us experience in group coaching.
Gather shared interests of some set of members.
Good. So it gathers a subset of members into their pods into their interest based on pods. That's not quite as eloquent as you said, Kathy. Yep. So it innately has collaboration and that kind of coach connect piece of it. Yep.
See it as an ideation part or rip off the comments. you can rip off the comments and maybe discover new value propositions to the coaching model.
Yeah, so
That we haven't
thought of before. Yeah, so Jim's saying that in the conversation, we can kind of riff off of each other's ideas and really extend our understanding. My analogy to that is kind of going to the library, and you might think that you want book with such and such call number, but then you find other books on that same shelf that are really interesting. And so being able to riff off of each other's expertise and stretch our thinking about how we do stuff. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I didn't know what I didn't know, but by attending this mastermind, I now have identified that this is an area of opportunity for me. This is an area that I want to indulge in because I need more information because it in fact does impact me in my coaching practice.
Yeah. We want to indulge you, Bridget.
It's 7:10.
Perfect. All right, other final thoughts? I have a feeling like it feels like the energy in the room is positive in terms of us believing that this is the right next step for our group. But I wonder if there's other conversation we need to have about the mastermind itself, the structure. I just want to open that healthy debate up.
I have a question. I'd read where there's a Slack channel available. Is that true? Is that a mode of communication among ourselves? And for those of us who haven't used Slack much, is there a way to be taught that?
Yes, yes.
Send an email to contact@ICFSA and with your questions, and we'll get you all the answers.
And this might be something like Virginia, just taking your tiny example of, it may come to the sort of executive group of like, hey, we need to create a 20-minute recorded Zoom on how to use the Slack channel. Like maybe it's just not you and your mastermind that needs some assistance with that. Percolate it up. The masterminds doesn't exempt the executive from doing that service stuff. But if there's somebody in your mastermind that knows Slack, then we would expect your mastermind group to kind of cover that stuff first. And bonus, if we can delegate, hey, that person in Virginia's mastermind who knows Slack can create the recording for us. But if not, the executive has responsibility to reach out to the other chapters and other cities, and yeah.
So that's contact@icfsa.com.
Yes.
.org.
Org, thank you.
Org.
Good clarification.
Thank you.
Awesome. Other things we need to think about, stuff that we just want to keep on the radar, or healthy debate about what this is.
If somebody wants to launch a mastermind or lead a mastermind, what are the steps to do?
Yeah, good. But if somebody wants to launch or lead a mastermind, so we don't really know what that launch pad looks like yet. We need to figure that out. Yep. Good. Other things we want to track of that we don't have.
Clarifying our value, the value of the purpose mind. That's a succinct way to pitch.
Yeah, clarifying the pitch. And also, I think clarifying what the metrics are for success. Like there has to be some accountability from the mastermind group. I mean, they've got to submit a roster to the executive. They must put in CEU applications. They must tell us what they're measuring so that we can market. Like there has to be some things that the mastermind does administratively for the office, whatever that is.
Balancing the organic side of finding a mastermind with some structure. If it's too ambiguous, people won't join because people don't, if it's not clear, there's not a call to do it.
Yeah. And the other part I sort of feel we own some responsibility in is at the very least, the people in this room need to go and tout it from the mountaintop. So like this woman today from Kansas City, who's a therapist and she's not ICF trained. I'm like, I think you would really love being a part of a mastermind group that talks about, like, I think she was more interested in the marketing or, how do you get referrals? We probably have people that are interested in that too, right? So like we have a responsibility to tout this and promote it and personally invite people that are not currently in the chapter. So I think there's something around that we should feel some responsibility to do.
Is there an optimal size?
Right, is there an optimal size? Great question.
I think that same question I'm asking is it better to be virtual or in person?
Sure. Virtual or in person or a hybrid. And does the group care? Like some of that stuff might be the group care, but I wonder also so what's too small, what's too large, what's the ideal size? And then what happens if somebody joins our chapter 2 months from now? Right? Do they just kind of merge into a group? How do we sort of manage that disruption? And also if you join a group, what's your initial commitment? Because, if you change every month, you're never going to kind of find that flow and that energy. So it feels like a year is too long in my mind. I'm wondering if like 6 months works or 3 months or something. There has to be some commitment.
So on these different logistical points, when you take the size of our chapter, it's approximately how big?
75, I think. Aurora?
The size?
Yeah.
More like 60.
64 is.
64.
64.
But we
Okay.
have,
So if you
yeah.
took something of an average where we think size and frequency, is it conceivable that you end up having, I'm just trying to get a ballpark sense, chapter this size, at any one time, you might have 4 or 5 masterminds going on?
Yeah. So chapter this size at any time, 4 or 5 masterminds. Absolutely. And I would think maybe 8 times 8 is 64. Get 8 going. So I've been leading masterminds for years in my last role, and 12 was on the edge of just too big. And
12
in a mastermind. So I wonder if we did something like 8 and you can kind of ebb and flow it a little bit.
So would you envision that somebody would be member of multiple masterminds?
Whatever they want. I would hope that if that happens, let's say I'm in 3 masterminds, I wouldn't facilitate all 3. I would hope that we just like share that privilege and responsibility a little bit. So I would want the executive or administrative team or whatever to kind of just ebb and flow that, it's just equal dynamics or equal opportunity.
Should there be a guardrail on the minimum number needed?
Yeah. What do you think in groups? Guardrail on the minimal number. Yeah, Mike gut's 5 too. Jim was saying 5. Virginia, yeah.
Yeah.
Virginia's Brené Brown trained. I'm just saying.
Yes, I am.
She's Brené Brown trained. She said 5 too. Mm-hmm.
Brene Brown's certified.
Certified, right.
Mhm.
We could all say that.
Ideal target 5 to 8, adjust a little bit on top.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what does that exit look like for people? I think of one year I worked with an executive team. They were in it for 3 years, and it was the same thing, like volunteer. What do you want to be a part of? And finally, I remember this one director of pharmacy who said like, enough. I just don't want to be in it next year. I need time away to kind of reflect and implement. So even what does that look like, right? Like where if I don't need to sort of be in a thought group, but what's my action group or what's my accountability group versus a growth group but I think that will organically work out too.
If that mastermind is organized and say they bring in a guest speaker.
Mm.
Are guests allowed to come in and just listen to that guest speaker only and not be part of the entire mastermind?
Yeah. So I've thought about this, but I'm just pitching an idea. So let's say that Carissa brings in her storyteller, right? Aurora is not part of our mastermind, but Aurora wants to learn about storytelling too. Absolutely. Like whatever any program is in any mastermind, you have access to that. You can join that because it's a program. It's not the intimate, vulnerable, pour your heart on the table. If anyone's doing a SME, subject matter expert, comes in, then we put that on the website as an open access to anybody. But I could be wrong on that. So
What about recording and intellectual property and those types of things?
Good question.
Mr. Lawyer.
yeah, Jim the lawyer in the group. Yeah, recording and intellectual property and and where is that housed? And
Right.
yeah.
On the CCEU piece, I mean, how does this differentiate between other more like core competency training? Clarifying that could be helpful.
Yeah, well, and I wonder if the SME, the presenters would be the core competency because they're going to have an agenda. It's going to be quite concrete, like what they're coming in to be expert about. And we might,
It would
to look at
depend
the
if they're
resource.
coming in on a resource development type topic, like storytelling versus a topic that is
Yeah,
more coaching.
asking better questions. Yeah.
Question that, I don't know if you have an answer, who funds the CCE? application?
Who funds the
Does that come out of the-
CCEU application?
Yeah, does that come out of the budget of the chapter, or does that come out of the budget of the participants in that master?
Does it come out of the budget of the chapter or the people in the mastermind?
You want an answer? Oh,
Well, I love that you're tracking notes so well. I'm sort of envisioning, like, money is a bit of a sticker. I'm Canadian and I've learned that sticker is an American term for the little thing. So if we just had a one-time pay once and you have access to everything, then that would suggest that it would be the chapter that pays for the CEU application. Rather than like, we paid for it once, but we're in a group and, oh, everybody put in $5 to pay for the application for the CCEU, and then it becomes a sticker frustration again at like calling out more money in the middle.
All those attitudes you're talking about, we
And-
want to avoid or.
Yeah, let's just, and if we need more money, then let's charge more money or whatever it is, but let's just have like one fee for the year. And you don't have to, you just have open access to paradise, whatever that is for you.
If the chapter is applying for the CCEU, there isn't a charge.
Oh, because when I applied for the SIGs, I'm like, I don't remember telling me that I needed to pay money.
you have to be a chapter. Yeah. In
Yeah,
order to
it's
apply.
different than a coach applying,
Yeah.
like this is a program I'm
Yeah.
developing.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Go
I know
Carissa, go
Good
Carissa.
answer.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. What are our global fees for? Yeah,
it's more the administrative piece of it, having the system for that the VA could probably take care of it. There would just need to be a system where the information is
yeah.
communicated
Yeah.
from the group.
And if anybody has done any work with Aurora, she has a Google Doc set up for whatever you need to track that is super slick and efficient.
I'm learning.
So if you don't know, we have this ongoing joke with Aurora, which is the whole spider. You can't see my hand very much, but imagine that I'm Spider Woman and I'm pushing my button and the web is flying at you. This is what Aurora does to everybody.
It's not a lasso. I kind of like the lasso.
No, Spider Woman, superhero power, Aurora. You're getting webbed by Aurora. That's the ongoing joke. So Aurora will figure out how to loop you into tracking whatever you need to do so that she gets the work done.
Is
Mhm.
there a ICF like learning management system?
Is there an ICF learning
There
management
is,
system?
Actually.
Huh.
Yeah, you can take your own courses through the ICF. Just
Yes.
log in as a member. And they're actually in
Ah.
the process of upgrading it right now. So you
Yeah.
can access it.
That's why I tried to go on it the other
Yeah,
day.
it's,
It's under
Yeah.
construction.
Oh, I wish they had a big
Easy
under
for us to
construction
go.
sign.
Moodle?
Easy for the Webber.
Even Google Classroom will do it.
Mm.
So. But that's a great idea.
I think over time, like, do we continue with Google Classroom or Slack or the one with the wish word in it? What's the other one? Apricot.
Uh-huh.
Like there's just so many things out there as we figure out what this looks like live. Like I'm thinking I'm in an accountability master group. We meet every Monday. We just use Messenger and Facebook to chime in on each other. Like, and maybe that wouldn't work for our chapter, but it's just let's live it a little bit and sort of tweak the technology or identify our needs.
So I want to make sure I'm following that. Is that, I know what Moodle is. What you're talking about, is this just a delivery system?
A way to capture, so I want to sign up for this course or this particular group. And so now I've entered into the group and the administrator of the group knows I've got these 5 people. And then there's an associated credit for that particular
Mhm.
one. And so the system then begins to track.
Yeah. Did you hear that online? Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, yeah, because I'm wondering too, like, what's the facilitator's role? I think that we need one point person to track some of that stuff, whether the facilitator delegates to somebody else or whatever. Someone's got to say, these people showed up to this mastermind today. Here's their CEU names and their application and the credit that they get for being there.
And so that particular tool records sessions.
Mm.
And so I can have this session, so it might be, here's the group itself, and then we have 5 sessions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be part of that would be setting up the calendar and then recording attendance and.
I wonder,
all little micro steps, but still important.
I wonder if there's like a pilot group that might be ready out of the 64 people in there. Like if there's a pilot group to kind of start mid-April. and they do it for 2 or 3 weeks. Well, and we don't want to just, because then that would be the mastermind for those people, right? And we are the keeners. We're the ones attending the meeting. We bought the Kool-Aid. So I don't know that I'd want to put all of the gung-ho people here in one, because then it might be harder to do the other stuff. But what are our next steps? Here, Rebecca, back to you. You did this wrap up stuff so well, way better than me. Go for it.
Let me just share my screen. And I think we are really at the next step. We know when you can see my screen. Are you seeing the mastermind slide?
Not yet.
A little bit of a delay.
Launch it.
Behind 57.
I'm not seeing anything.
Yes, sure. Sure.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for that to come up, the next step, we don't necessarily have a slide that wraps us up nicely. So really the next steps is for Carrie, I think we need to get together and understand what does that launch look like, and what are the activities that we need to do to kind of wrap this up and start identifying who's going to be in that pilot and what that might look like. There is a slide in here, if I can get.
There it is.
There it is. Okay, perfect. So we are from the masterminds. There isn't, like I said, there isn't a wrap-up slide, but we do have this plug for Wild Apricot. So you can go out there and make sure that you've got the app.
And there's one more. There we go. So we sent out a member survey to everyone. So if you could take the time just to fill out the survey, should open up. Yep, point your camera. There you go. And you should be able to take that survey. We're really trying to understand more about our members and what their needs are, so we can effectively meet those needs. Okay. And what else, Rebecca? And yeah, follow up. Great question on the Slack channel. Happy to send you all the details on how to get into the Slack channel. But please do follow us on all of our platforms, because we have a lot of content, like on Vimeo, for example. So Scott was talking about the learning management system. Vimeo has a built-in learning management system where you can watch these. Now, what we haven't associated with Vimeo is the CCEUs. One thing that we learned from one of our chapters, for example, sister chapters, ICF LA, they have like Teachable, and you could go in and actually watch the videos and get CCEUs. So that's something that, you know, eventually we can evolve into. But we do post all of our content on these social channels. So please follow us and engage with us. And I believe that is it. We really do appreciate all of the time that you all have given us today. And we're looking forward to putting the next steps together with Rebecca, and we'll get it out to the members in terms of, you know, this is kind of what we're proposing in terms of the masterminds, and then how you all can also be prepared. And Paula, I know you mentioned structure. And so if there's an opportunity to maybe even have a small group connect so that they can have a conversation around what does this look like, that would be beneficial. And I know you could add a lot to that conversation. So, okay, that's a wrap. Anything else?
No, let's wrap up with 3 really great things out of today. I always say the last word's the lingering word. So we did all the business, we have the survey, we're all answering it. Great. What's 3 great things about this time we spent together?
I finally made it to a meeting.
Okay, finally made it to a meeting, got to meet new members, and